Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a video series brought to you by Frida Friday ATX and in partnership with La Politica. My name is Diana Gomez. I am a civic engagement coordinator with Frida Friday and also a co-founder of La Politica. Again, we're putting these videos on to just give y'all more information on the candidates that are running in the primary July runoffs. Again, early voting ends July 10th, election day is July 14th. And so usually we have both candidates in the runoffs in our videos. We reached out to Margaret Moore's office multiple times, couldn't find a time that worked out. So right now we are just so happy to talk to candidate José Garza. And thank you so much for being here. If we can find a time with Margaret, hopefully we will be able to produce that video. If not, this will be the last video in our series. Welcome, Jose.
Thank you, Diana. It's good to be here. How are you doing?
Good, good. Would you mind just giving about 1 minute to introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is José Garza, and I'm running to be the district attorney here in Travis County because I think our criminal justice system is broken. But I also know that it doesn't have to be this way. I know that we all have the power to change it. I started my career as a public defender down on the border, where I worked both at the state and federal level. And I saw in those jobs every single day the way our criminal justice system weighs most heavily on working class people and people of color. But I also had the opportunity to serve in the Obama administration, and it's been the privilege of my career to lead an organization here in town called Workers Defense Project. And in those jobs, I've seen the power that regular people have to change their community and most certainly to change our broken criminal justice system. So I'm excited to chat with you, Diana, and hope that folks listening will feel inspired and join our movement.
Thank you so much, Jose. Okay, I'll start in with our questions, and I'll give about 2 minutes for each question.
Great.
The first one is real police accountability requires a complete overhaul of the prosecutor-police relationship. How will you ensure that the district attorney's office remains independent from police departments to ensure that police brutality is investigated and prosecuted diligently?
What an important question in this moment. And I couldn't agree more strongly that there needs to be independence in the district attorney's office from law enforcement. I believe that our community deserves a district attorney who is unbought by the people we have a responsibility to hold accountable. And so that is why I have never received a dime of campaign contributions from police organizations. And I have pledged that I will never accept money from police organizations. My opponent, on the other hand, is, you may know this, is the largest recipient on the ballot on July 14th of campaign contributions from law enforcement organizations in Travis County. And I think there has to be true independence. I think there are other steps that we have to take. I have pledged that I will prosecute all cases of police misconduct, particularly where that misconduct results in death or injury to a member of our community. I have pledged that we will take all of those cases to a grand jury quickly and transparently, that we will take those cases to a grand jury within 30 days. And that if for some reason, Diana, we aren't ready to move in 30 days, I've pledged that we will release a public statement explaining why and update that statement every 14 days so that our community can continue to hold us accountable. I believe that we need to create, and we will create, a public no-call list for law enforcement officers who have a history of racism or xenophobia, officers who have a history of failing to turn on their body cameras in a way that complies with policy. Law enforcement who engage in misconduct should not be allowed to participate in our criminal justice system. And when we win, they won't.
Thank you, Jose. Next question. Prosecutors have a vital role to play in ensuring that increased federal immigration enforcement does not undermine community trust. public safety, or the fair administration of justice? As courts become gateways of the deportation pipeline, what policies will you implement to protect immigrant communities?
I've spent my entire career fighting side by side with members of our immigrant community, and I believe in their power, and I plan to continue to honor their contributions to our community and their incredible power. Um, when I worked at Workers Defense, we worked together with um, several allies across the state and here in Travis County to fight back against SB4. We are one of the lead plaintiffs, Workers Defense Project is, in the lawsuit against the state of Texas on SB4. It was the first time that Workers Defense Project was ever a party to a lawsuit, was to sue the state of Texas to stop the implementation of SB4. And later that year, along with our allies in council and our allies in the community, allies like Grassroots Leadership and others, we led the charge to adopt the Freedom Cities policy, which ended the arrest of misdemeanor offenses here in Travis County to try to cut down the arrest to deportation pipeline. When we win, we are going to expand the Freedom Cities policy to include felony offenses. And there are several steps that we're going to take. I've said that we're going to stop the prosecution of low-level drug offenses that will greatly diminish the number of people who enter the arrest to deportation pipeline. We're going to end the cash bail system here in Travis County so that people sitting in jail simply because they can't afford to get out don't get stuck in our arrest to deportation pipeline. And we're going to give our prosecutors clear instructions so that they do not pursue criminal charges that hurt one community more simply because of their status.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next question. What will you do to rebuild community trust in a government establishment like the district attorney's office?
Yeah, I know where to begin. And I think there are several things that we've talked about so far that are important to that. But let me just say this. You know, for 400 years in this country, we have been sold a lie. We have been told that what public safety is arresting as many people of color and working class people as we can. That if we just arrest enough people of color and enough working class people, that would make our communities more safe. But we know that's not true. We know that's not true both because of the data and the evidence, but also because of our lived experiences. We know, in the neighborhood where I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, I knew that what public safety was a good job. It was access to healthcare. It was access to good schools to send our children. Those things create stability, and stability equals public safety. And so we've got to begin to hold law enforcement accountable when they harm members of our community. We have to reprioritize the way we use our criminal legal system so it doesn't weigh so heavily on people of color and working class people by ending cash bail, by ending the prosecution of low-level drug offenses. Prosecuting low-level drug offenses is one of the greatest drivers of racial disparities in our criminal justice system. We know that right here in Travis County, substance use is consistent across the county by race, ethnicity, and geography. That means that white folks, brown folks, and black folks are all using drugs at about the same levels, right? I mean, if you go to Eeyore's birthday party, you can see that with your own eyes, right? But when you look at arrest and prosecution data, we know that it's people of color who get targeted. Although 9% of our population is Black, 30% of all drug arrests are of Black people. We know that the number one way that people get arrested and charged with drug possession is through traffic stops, and that over 60% of people stopped, arrested, and prosecuted are people of color, even though we don't make up 60% of the community. So ending the prosecution of low-level drug offenses will not only keep us more safe, but it will begin to address some of the racial disparities in our system. So there's a lot of work we have to do, but it's time to get started.
Thank you, Jose. Next question. Racial inequities are ingrained into the criminal justice system. Please explain your understanding of these racial inequities and how you will address them.
Well, I mean, this system was designed to perpetuate those racial inequities. Our criminal legal system was specifically designed to oppress people of color as an extension of slavery, as a way to clamp down after the civil rights movement on the growing power of people of color. That's what this system was designed to do. There is clearly documented evidence that the war on drugs was politically designed to be a war on people of color. Our prohibition on the use of marijuana in the state of Texas was designed to target Latinx communities, specifically Mexican-American communities, to hold our power in check. And so we have to understand that history is what underpins our practices. And because we understand that history, we can't be afraid to roll this back. Again, we have been told, there's a lot of fear mongering that goes on about substance use, right? That, you hear a lot of people talk about the evils of substance use and property crimes. And look, everyone deserves to feel safe in their own community. But it's time to use our resources in a way that really achieve public safety. And for us to redefine our understanding of what public safety is. We should be spending our resources prosecuting sexual assault, violent crimes, crimes against women, gun crimes. But every year, our district attorney's office brings more drug cases than any other kind. So this system was designed to be racist, and we have to be willing to walk away from the practices of the last 400 years to start anew, and really to begin to reimagine our criminal legal system.
Thank you, Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Transgender victims are often misgendered in police records and legal documents. This lack of inclusivity and representation creates mistrust between the LGBTQ community and law enforcement.
Yep.
What policies will you implement to ensure the LGBTQ inclusivity for LGBTQ victims?
Well, the first thing that we need to point out is that LGBTQIA plus communities of color in particular tend to be one of the most harmed communities by our criminal legal system. They are the communities that disproportionately are targeted by our backwards drug laws and targeted by other failures in our system. And there are some, what I think of as relatively simple changes that we need to make. And there are some widespread systemic and cultural changes that we need to make in our criminal legal system. To start with, there is no reason for intake forms at the police department or the district attorney's office to be so narrowly tailored with respect to gender. It doesn't help for a police officer to ask male or female in 2020. There are some simple changes we should make to the way we conduct interviews and collect data that recognizes the incredible and beautiful diversity of our community, and to help members of our trans community feel more welcome. The second is that we have to be aggressive in prosecuting crimes against members of the LGBTQIA plus community, and particularly members of our trans community. They have to know that their safety is paramount to us, and that we will take crimes and acts of violence against them seriously.
Thank you. And last question. Why should you be the district attorney?
I've spent my entire career fighting to lift up working class people and people of color. I have not spent my entire career locking up working class people and people of color. And again, for the last 400 years in this country, we have elected career prosecutors to be our district attorney. And we have seen the result of those choices, which is that nothing has changed. And I believe it is time to fundamentally reimagine what the job of the district attorney is and who is best qualified to be the district attorney. I started my career as a public defender, fighting to give voice to people who have been left behind and hurt by our criminal legal system. I believe deeply that all people are capable of change and that we should have a criminal legal system that is based in, rooted in that value. And I believe that we have an incredible moment right now where our community overwhelmingly seeks these changes, wants to see this reform. And I believe the biggest mistake we can make right now as a community is to limit or narrow the scope of our aspirations. We have an obligation right now to dream big about the transformation and the change our communities deserve. And with humility, I believe I'm best suited to lead this office and our criminal legal system into the change that Travis County deserves.
Awesome. Thank you so much, José Garza, for your time. Really appreciate all of your answers, and I know our viewers did too. And I know they'll walk into the voting booths a lot more informed than before. Just as a reminder, early voting ends July 10th. Election day is July 14th. José, thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to let voters know about this important race and these important issues, and hope that everyone will get out and vote and check out our website at Jose4DA to learn more about the issues that I think matter to this community and the changes that we have an opportunity to make.
Thank you.